Welcome. It's so nice to see you all here today. And we'll be talking about success, as you might expect. And we'll be talking in particular about how I see this in the skies and how I see this in the skies right now. And I want to talk about the planet Pluto, which is sitting with the sun in the sky. So first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Pluto and what Pluto is. And you'll recognize this. You'll recognize this energy. You're feeling it right now. And if you're watching this later, today it is January 19th. So January 19th and 20th, in particular, this energy is very much here. So you can go back in your memory to that particular time and tune in to what was going on in your life then. And this is such a big imprint that it's going to stay with us for quite some time. So what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about Pluto, the energy of Pluto. We'll talk about the sign that Pluto is in right now, Capricorn. And we'll also talk about the sun and what it's like when the Pluto and the sun come together. And then most of the time, we're going to spend in a deep meditation exercise. I have a sense of what this meditation will be like. I also want to say that most of my meditations, especially planetary meditations, are channeled. So I get a sense of what are the outlines, and then what actually shows up in the moment is sometimes a surprise to me, just as it might be to you. I do know that the energy of the planets as I experience them, no matter what labels we might put on them, and there's a lot of labels we can put on some of the themes that Pluto addresses, is always one fundamentally of love. And it's an invitation to let go of beliefs and emotions that no longer serve you and to embrace the power of expanded consciousness. And I suppose that's maybe what success is really all about. So this is Pluto that you're seeing on the screen now. I love this planet and I love this
Something
picture.
went wrong. Please try again.
Oh, that's interesting. My phone has just spoken. Something went wrong. Please try again. So maybe I don't love Pluto. Maybe I'm learning to love Pluto. And what I love about this icy rock at the edge of our solar system, which by some measures is no longer a planet. And I feel like that sort of captures the journey of Pluto too, that sense of almost being seen as less than or not being welcome in some meaningful way. If we look here, if you see in that center, it has a heart, this beautiful icy heart. So I want you to remember that as we talk through what Pluto is, that at the end of the day, it's love, even though it may be very easy for us to see it otherwise. This is the glyph or the symbol for Pluto in astrology. I think it's always interesting to look at that, to just take a few moments and just connect with it. And that sense of spirit that resides when we look at a circle sitting over this cross, which is in some ways the cross of matter. And Pluto has been associated with, I guess there is a dominance of spirit over matter, or the way that matter can hold spirit in this chalice-like form. Now, these are some of the themes that we look at when we think about Pluto. Pluto is associated with transformation. This is a word that you hear all over. And I feel like in many ways, whenever an astrologer says transformation, an angel gets its wings. When we think about the part of transformation that Pluto is part of, Pluto is part of death. Pluto is part of things going back into the ground, of things being reabsorbed. We think about that life cycle. Pluto is when the leaves have fallen onto the ground and they are rotting back into the soil. When we see the creepy crawlies come out, we see them digest. We see very literally like it's the feces, like that's there, that's the fertilizer. And it's that the waste, the elimination, things that we have let go of that look gross and things that we don't necessarily want to see, things that live in the depths, things that are coming up from below, the skeletons in the closet. You know, that these are things that we get when we think about Pluto, the images that we have. It's almost like if you open a fridge and you're like, ugh, like what smells in here? Or again, like you kind of get in the water and you're like, oh, like what's moving down at my feet? Like that's really creepy. I don't want that nearby. Or you're digging in your backyard and you find a bone, or you find something that's just sort of underneath, like, well, like where did this come from? This is really disturbing. And that can be that feeling when we're working with Pluto, because it is bringing things up from the depths of our subconsciousness in ways that can be really uncomfortable. Pluto also brings this power or this compulsion to go there, to rip back the curtain, to have that sense of, okay, I know that I'm terrified and I also know that I need to go there. It can have this feeling of obsession, like I need to tunnel in, I need to know what this is, I need to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And these two are essential. If we don't have that compulsion, if we don't have that drive to go into the shadow, that sense that we must know what lurks underneath in order to confront it, in order to embrace it, then we're never going to do it. So I think of these as very much working in harmony. So for me, especially over the past few days, there has been this sense of, gosh, there are a lot of ways that I am terrified of my own success. And as much as it can make me uncomfortable to go into those places where I feel unworthy and I feel less than, and I feel afraid, I just feel like I don't have any other choice right now. And that's what Pluto really offers, I think, is a gift. That sense of, all right, this is the time to do the shadow work. This is the time to go in and to see the things that haven't been seen and that aren't going to be seen unless we take the time and effort to get to know them. But I do also want to acknowledge that Pluto is something that is associated with deep fear, and that deep fear that we hold in our bodies, especially in our lower chakras, from the heart down to our feet, where things can feel really heavy and things can feel really stuck. And that's also where our power resides. So again, it's that sense of these two things come together, and Pluto is a recognition that these two things come together, that fear and power come together. And by being with your fear, by seeing it, by embracing it, and by changing the story, you allow yourself to move into the power. And really, when Pluto is around, we have no other choice. So I'm always glad to see Pluto come around. And also, I know that it's going to be quite an experience whenever it shows up in the sky. And again, this too is just a reminder of this beating heart of Pluto, that at the end of the day, this is one form of love, that love can be, having the curtain ripped away. So you need to see the machinations of what's been going on behind the surface, what's been going on in your mind, what's been going on in your heart. If you're not willing to see it, then you can't change. And we really do choose what our experience is. We really do create our reality. So if you want to make changes in what your reality is, you need to rip back the curtain. You need to see the things that are no longer there. And when I think about death, I don't think about death as separation. I think about it as a reabsorption into that beautiful, clear consciousness. It's that sense of what is it that you can allow yourself to reabsorb? How can you claim that power back? How can you look at those things that you didn't want to see and allow them to become part of you in a way that they do regenerate, that they contribute to your light, which is very much what the sun is in astrology. It's your light, it's your uniqueness, it's your brilliance. So we're really looking at how do we welcome that back in? How do we trust ourselves to be all of ourselves? This is the glyph for the sign of Capricorn, where Pluto is located now. And these are some of the images that I have for Capricorn. So when I think about Capricorn, I think about big institutions. Like here, we can see the Bank of England. I also think about castles, and that's going to be a theme in one of our meditations today. Think about the redwoods, these enormous, beautiful trees. Capricorn is an earth sign. So it's grounded, it's tangible, it's practical, it's very worldly. It's also the sign that I would associate it with mountains and with moving mountains and climbing mountains. It has a wonderful aspirational feel, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, which is where Western astrology was largely developed. It starts at the winter solstice. So it starts at the darkest point of the year, and it has this feeling of climbing your way up. And that's when I think about aspiration and I think about achievement. These are such fantastic Capricorn words. And success is certainly a Capricorn word. When I think about worldly success, almost that sense of empire building is a very Capricorn idea. That sense of building a container that is bigger than we are, building something that is long lasting, the strategy, the discipline, the commitment it takes to make a legacy, to make history. It's like you look at these redwood trees in these forests, these did not grow in a day. This is that joy of hard work, the joy of creating something that is bigger than ourselves, which can be such a wonderful virtue and value when I think about what success is and when I think about what it's like to have great aspirations. And Capricorn also reminds me, this is not a sign where things suddenly drop in fully formed. It's a sign where the point is to do the work. And while we can think of hard work as something that's difficult or challenging, hard work is also tremendously joyful. That sense of showing up for something again and again and again, the discipline, the dedication, and the commitment. And it's so easy to say that it's all about the journey that matters. And with Capricorn, that's true. When you enjoy the view from the top of the mountain, how long are you at the top of the mountain? What percentage of the mountain is its peak? I always think about that. And really, you want to enjoy the whole mountain. You don't want to just be focused on what is that peak. And yes, the view is fantastic and it's wonderful to have that aspiration. And really, the highest virtue of Capricorn is aspiring to have the discipline, the dedication, the commitment to build something bigger. So these are some of the images I think of when I think about Capricorn. And if we look on these top rows, this is where I think about this beautiful, here in the middle, I see the structure behind a skyscraper. If you're going to build a huge building, you need to have solid, strong support running all the way through. Think about being on the top of that rock, climbing at the solidity that's present, the groundedness. And also, I think about these beautiful libraries with just this collection of historical knowledge, all of the things that we have learned, that we have brought together, that real sense of that achievement, that sense of awe that you can get when you walk into a space like this, like, wow, look at how much has been done. And there are also some more challenging energies that we deal with when we're in Capricorns. There can be that feeling of burden, the burden of responsibility, feeling chained down, feeling like there is a weight on top of you, or that there is outside control that's coming on top of you, or that you're pushing a boulder up a hill. These can also be things that we experience when we're in that more fear-based vibration around Capricorn. And these are things that Pluto is likely to bring up for us. It's likely to bring up, where is it that we feel like we're pushing a boulder up the hill and we've forgotten that we're moving upwards? We've forgotten that we are grounded and that we are supported. Where is it we feel like we have this weight that's just dragging us down, and we've forgotten that what we're doing is building the foundations and the structures for what comes next? And sometimes this means being closer to the ground. It means staying down. That feeling like there's like somebody else controlling our narrative or telling us what we have to do, rather than we are making this contribution to the legacy of humanity. So I think those are things that can all come up, especially when we're dealing with some of those fear-related things. And they're things I've definitely noticed. That sense of, oof, like now that I have to think about what is my contribution and what am I building? Suddenly it's like my security system says, wouldn't it be much easier to go and work for something that's already established and just have somebody else tell you what to do, even though I know that's the last thing that I want? Or, even that sense too of like, wouldn't it just be nice and easy to be at the top and to have already achieved everything that you want to achieve? But then I would miss out on that whole journey along the way. So all just to notice that these are some of the vibrations that we see. We see Capricorn. And these are just some of the things that we've seen while Pluto has been transiting in the sign of Capricorn, where it's been for 15 years, I guess 15 and a half years. It went back in for the first time back in 2008. And these are some of the things that we've seen since. So that came in right with a credit crunch. And Capricorn speaks a lot to our institutions, our economic models, things that are established. And Pluto brings up things that are out of alignment. It brings up a sense of where are there, I guess I could say, complicated power dynamics. Where is there oppression? Where is there terror? Where is there fear? These are all things that could come up along this. So if you look at some of the events that have happened and some of the people and I guess the political goings on that have brought up some of this energy, Certainly, there's that sense of corporations being larger and more powerful. We've seen in the US, Donald Trump, who brings up some of these Pluto and Capricorn themes, that sense of being ruled by plutocracy, being ruled by the wealthy and the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. Or same with that same energy coming into Brexit. And again, we have this feeling when we look at the planet, like this just can't go on forever. You look at our environment, and certainly when you think about Capricorn and working with Earth and that sense of exploitation, in that sense that having that exploitative relationship with our Earth, which we have really seen, I'd say come out in all of its, I want to say nastiness, but in all of its fullness, with all of the fear and the lack and the greed, which can really be associated with some of these Pluto and Capricorn themes. We are so acutely aware of it. And also, we are just so aware that the time for change is now and that it's within our power to make that change. And that's something that Pluto also reveals and shows to us. Once we move through the terror, once we move through the fear that it's not possible, once we move through the fear of our own success, both individually and also as a human species and as a planet. So bringing us back to Pluto now. So I mentioned today we've got Pluto sitting with the sun, and the sun, in some ways, we call it a planet in astrology. So I would say the sun is in some ways the most important planet. The sun is what everything else revolves around. It is the center of our solar system. It is the source of light. It is the source of heat. It is the source of life that radiates out. Planets don't produce light. Planets reflect light. So every planet that you see is reflecting the light of the sun. Of course, the same thing is true of the moon. So what the sun is in our individual lives, it is our sense of brilliance. I guess in some ways, it is our spirit. It's our purpose. It's how we radiate. It's how we shine. And it does speak a lot to some of those themes around happiness and success. The sun has a vitality to it, and it does have that feeling of sovereignty and governance and being in charge. It has a very regal quality and a regal energy to it. So when Pluto comes to play with the sun, it's almost like the sun goes dark and needs to go inside of itself to understand, where does the source of that energy come from? Like, where does the power of the sun come from? And sometimes what that can mean is it can mean obscuring our identity, which is another solar quality, obscuring all of the ways that we have thought of ourselves to date, so that it's almost like turning off the light so that we can appreciate what we are. We're no longer looking at all of the things that are around us, all of the things that we projected, the things that we pushed out into the world. Now it's just us in here. When you turn out the lights and you're like, oh my gosh, it's just me and it's just this voice in here. There's no one else that I can look to or rely on or blame or project onto. It's just all about me. So it's that deeply internal sense of it's all about me. That sun always has that it's all about me vibration. It is very much the center. And it's important for us to know that we're special and we're unique, and our world is, in our own experience, all about us. And here there's the terror of knowing that it's all about you, which also means that the things in your life that you don't like, that you don't prefer, the parts of you that you don't love are also there. And it's up to you to look at them and to embrace them. So what we'll do is we'll head into a meditation. And in this meditation, we'll be going into our skeleton. And the skeleton and the bones are ruled by Capricorn. And we're going to locate ourselves in that. And we're going to, I guess we'll see what happens. But ultimately, we're going to bring ourselves into that light by allowing for what's there and doesn't need to be there in this way, this shape, or this form to be reabsorbed. So with that said, I will play for you some music. I just invite you to let yourself relax. attention to your breath. To let your breath deepen. And go further and further down into your belly. Let your lungs fill up. Let them empty. As you do this, to just notice that your body knows what to do. That it knows how to breathe. That it knows how to draw in what it needs from the world around you. And it knows how to let go what it doesn't need back into the world. Noticing that as you breathe in, you're drawing in what you need. Sensing how, as you draw this in, this life in the air around us, just sensing how it travels all around your body. Your lungs, into your bloodstream, pumped around to every single cell. Breathing life breathing it into every cell. Just how amazing and wonderful this is. Noticing that cells also have a way to release what they no longer need. Back to the blood, pumping it back to the lungs, and just releasing it out to the world around you. So noticing that just as you breathe in life, breathe out life. What you offer to the world is a gift to the world. It breathes in as you breathe out. It breathes out as you breathe in. That death is life. That death creates life. That there is forever this interplay. That there is no waste. What you release becomes life. To also notice this breathing, this breathing is something that happens all the time. Even in the middle of the night, when you're fast asleep, there's your body, breathing in and breathing out. Creating life. Now I invite you to draw your attention inwards. Start maybe by noticing your skin, the outside of your body. Just let that attention sink in through your skin. Let it sink deeper and deeper. Deeper. The layers of tissue, muscles, fat, all the things that are present in your body, organs. Let that awareness sink deep into your bones. Below the strength of muscles and the softness of fat. Life-giving functions, organs, just going deep into your bones. Letting your awareness sink center your skeleton. The bone marrow. The origins of your blood. Fundamental source of life, deep within you. So deeply protected and hidden. And so precious. As you let your attention rest here, I invite you to imagine a beautiful castle. Noticing what it's made of. Perhaps thick stone walls. It's fortifications and protection. Maybe it's on a hill. Maybe it has a moat. Whatever it looks like for you. Noticing the turrets, the structure, just feeling magnificence of its presence. Something that is built to last. Just feeling how much has gone in to building this castle. Becoming aware of all of the labor, the planning. Where did the materials come from? Who brought them? How were they put together? How did they come to look like this? Just appreciate all it has taken to build build this. I want you to understand that this castle, this is your idea and your vision of your greatest achievement, of your aspiration. Allow for this castle to be filled with that. Becoming aware of all that you have done to get where you are, all that you will do to get where you are headed, all that you are made of, all who have contributed, your strategies, your plans, your diligence, your commitment. It's all here in this castle. Your greatest success, enduring legacy. I want you to imagine in the center of this castle is a point of light. I want you to take a brave step to let a piece of the castle fall into that point of view. You just pebble, rock, roof, or just letting it go into that light. It does. Notice how the light gets brighter. A little bit brighter. A little bit of the castle disappears. The light gets a little brighter. Now, doing that again, maybe allowing more of the castle. Maybe allowing for breath. Chandelier, table, where you find this light. Just handing it over, just letting it be consumed by the light. As you do this, just noticing how the light gets a little bigger, a little brighter. Just noticing as you let go this castle, that as it begins to disappear, this light on the inside gets brighter. Hard to imagine a full castle is collapsing. The walls are falling down. Ceilings are tumbling. Floor is cracking. Knowing that it's safe to watch this, let it happen. Noticing what it feels like. Watch everything you thought you wanted to be, you thought you were building. It feels like to let it fall apart. As you let this castle collapse, disintegrate, noticing how that light you saw at the center, that tiny light, getting brighter, brighter, brighter. Brighter. So you're not noticing the way the castle is collapsing anymore. You're not noticing the tumbling, falling stones. You're noticing how the light is getting brighter. Get brighter and brighter until it's all you can see. Now, there is no castle. All there is beautiful, brilliant light. The light of creation. Your light. This feels like maybe there wasn't ever a castle. It was all just a dream. Maybe this is all that was ever here. Beautiful, brilliant light that sits in the center of you. It's taking this light, just going back into your body, back into this deep place in the center of your bones. Just feeling this beautiful, pure light of creation. Just feeling it at the center of your bones. Just letting it start to shine out. Out through your bones, into your organs and tissues. Filling your skin. And start to radiate out into the world around you. Noticing how much freer it feels. Able to shine. Perfect way for you. Just knowing that this is what success is. That's what happiness is. All you ever need to aspire to be is yourself. All that you have ever, will ever achieve is already within you. Your only commitment and duty is to yourself. You are the greatest thing that you create. Just letting that be true. Saying to yourself, I commit to create myself. You are the castle. You are the light. And you are loved. So just drawing your attention back to your breath. Letting yourself feel the life coming in, life going out, feeling comfortable with this exchange. Just starting to let some energy come back into your body. Wiggling your toes and your fingers. Your shoulders from side to side. Your neck. Roll up, down, left. Wiggling your hips. Never feel right. Coming back to this moment, space and time, you find yourself just already, just letting yourself open your eyes. Gratitude for the time you just spent with the person that you are. Hmm. So thank you so much for joining. I'm always curious how things are going to come out and what emerges. So I'm really interested to know from you what your experiences were like. What showed up? How do you feel now?
Thank you, Patrick. That was really wonderful. I really enjoyed that. I had a beautiful experience of just dancing, like ballet dancing in the sunlight. And then I was taken back to being a child and being about 8 or 9 and dancing in the garden just with the sun streaming. And also, I loved it when you said, "You are the greatest thing that you create." I just thought that was really beautiful. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I love the image.
Mm.
That is that sense of that wonderful, almost that childlike free creativity when I think about being young and dancing like no one is watching because no one is.
Well, it was also kind of like dancing like anyone and everyone and no one is watching, and it's all okay because I just want to dance, and it doesn't matter if someone's watching or not watching, or but if they did see me, they would know that I was just without any filter, just being in that moment, enjoying the experience of twirling around in the sunlight, being a human being on planet Earth. So
That's
it was
it.
really nice.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that as adults we use that expression, but kids, as you say, kids don't care who's watching.
Hmm.
They'll do the same thing wherever and whenever because there is that wonderful freedom of spirit. And that can be something that I find when I think about this energy is what a relief it is to let go of all of those expectations and plans and aspirations that I thought I needed to have in order to be successful and in order to be who I'm here to be. I don't need any of it.
And also, how funny that when we do that, I just went straight back to being a little girl dancing in the garden. That's really, you know, what I want to do. Dance my way through my life.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, always.
I'll share. Yeah, thank you, Patrick. It was such a amazing meditation. It kind of it took me back. There's a few things you said, but I just had kind of visions of the past and just building up these ideas of how you think life should be, and all of a sudden it kind of comes crumbling down, and there you are just standing there thinking, oh, I was about to say a swear word then, but I won't. I'll keep it not swearing today. You're thinking, oh crap, what do I do now? Like, and then just that vision of that light. Now you have this. It's all crumbled down, but now you have this light. You have this space to create whatever you visualize life to be. It's now your time. You can shine. You can make it how. Not based on anyone else's expectations, not on based on what you thought it should be. You can just create from this space of just light, and I think that's what it kind of brought to me. And just and you don't that space of unknowing, you don't necessarily know, but you are the light, so you can create whatever you choose from this point on. So I just thought that was really beautiful, so thank you so much.
No, thank you so much for sharing. And you've said that so elegantly. That's exactly what I think about when I think about this Pluto Sun energy is it's almost the terror. I had this show up very vividly in a dream, the terror of all of the things that I thought I wanted to be and my vision of success and my vision of aspiration and achievement and my legacy, just watching it all crumble. And it is a really and I applaud all of you for having the courage to sit through a meditation where you do allow for that to just be consumed. And then also the freedom that you get, which is some of that feeling we get with Pluto, which is just it all collapses around you. We see that what's happening in our society. We have this feeling of collapse. And then also, it can only ever collapse into the light. That's it. And just knowing that you are the castle and you are the light. You're all of it. So you can build anew and you build from the light. So thank you so much for saying that. I think you summarized it better than I ever could have.
Am I fair?
Yes, please
Um,
do.
I'm just really taken by surprise right this minute. This day, throughout the whole day, I have a 24-hour blood pressure monitoring my. I have a high blood pressure, and we're dealing with that. And all day, it's been like a heart attack rate and higher, really horrible. And as I was listening, though I couldn't focus fully, it's dropped like a third now because it just measured and I just saw it. So it's dropped
Wow.
like significantly.
Wow.
I think
That's
that's
amazing.
incredible. Hmm. That's one thing. And the second thing is Tamsin was talking about the dancing like a child in the childhood and Drea too. I didn't really have anything visual, however, it felt like some sort of a veil dropped in terms of my creativity, maybe some blocks, some of those like I'm not enough, this isn't gonna work, blah blah blah. And I started having like a stream of ideas for my workshops to the point that I had to stop and like start writing it down as he was speaking. Because I was like, this is too good, this is too good, I have to write this down. And it was all about how to be more of a child through the kitchen. And it was all about the child thing. It's so funny how a lot of more of us have the same thing or similar thing going on. Yeah,
Yeah. The,
that's me.
the wonder of group energy. And wow, what an amazing physical change. I mean,
I know what
like,
the
huge
hell.
congratulations on the deep shift that you've just made. That's just wonderful. And to have the evidence and to be able to see what happens when you make those sorts of releases of expectations and that almost that like the fear that's been kept, that elevated fear. So I'm so
Yeah.
impressed with you and what you have just achieved and what you've done. And also anytime you want to come and cook with my kids, you're more than welcome.
Police. I mean, let's do this. Like we have to plan this. I'm gonna text you later. I love that.
Perfect. They bring such a sense of levity and like truly to my own cooking experiences. It's just such it's fantastic. Like having young kids around is a profound change in perspective.
That sounds like exactly what I need right now, based on the yesterday's workshops. Like more sun in my life into the creativity. That sounds just perfect. Awesome. Okay, muting again.
Perfect.
I'll share, Patrick. Just want to say thank you so much for that. That was just gorgeous and and just so relevant for my own particular space and time. Um, because I've really never I kind of wanted to have goals all my life and things that really kind of matter, but it didn't kind of work. It's not my natural way. And I think I've just been forcing things um, for all my life into kind of, well, why can't I be driven in this way? And like, I just used to watch everybody else and think, my God, like, why am I not like that? And now I just feel like I'm giving myself permission these last couple of years to just allow that to just be so, because I am just myself. And I think I've naturally just allowed that. But when I, in the last, I just felt like I was trying to compete with people. And it really has been really excruciating for me. So just to hear that now, which is exactly the journey that I'm on, just to the letting go and just being as we are, um, it's just it's beautiful to be able to have that experience of just, yeah, I was right all along to just what it wasn't that there was something wrong with me that I couldn't like force myself and create goals and hit deadlines. That's just not who I am. And for the things that I want to do, they just come naturally. So it's given myself permission to be, what is success? What is success? Successfulness is different to everybody. But for me, it's very, really simple having good friends, helping people, getting out in nature, and having the odd glass of wine and dancing around my kitchen. And quite frankly, that's all I need. But there is a part of my ego that goes, well, you know, and I let that just, because that is my natural self, there's, you know, that whole constructed ego part that is going, well, that's not right, you know. So it is, they're fighting against each other sometimes.
Yeah, most
So
certainly. I really
yeah,
understand that and I hear that. And it's that sense of like maybe it's our ego that builds castles and like, look at this,
yeah,
look at this giant thing that
yeah,
I built on top of a hill and how cool is this?
exactly.
Come check this out.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I was in the meditation. I was in really deep trance actually. But then I was thinking, why are we building castles? Why do we
There you
always
go.
have to be doing something? Why are we having to like achieve things to go somewhere? For what?
For what?
You know?
That's it. I love
You
it. You
know,
said it so elegantly. And, you know, it really is just you. This is the only thing that you're building. And it doesn't really
yeah,
matter
yeah,
anyone else thinks or what you're
yeah,
supposed to do and how freeing and what a relief it is when we let go of that idea that you're supposed to build something other than yourself.
yeah. And I love that. And just I've been getting into creating things at the moment because I'm, you know, quite creative, but I stopped it all because I thought it had to be in a certain way and there was no point, and I'm just, you know, too busy. And I just
Mhm.
started making things again and making mirrors and using shells and whatever for nobody other than for to give gifts to people, and you know, and I just, it's just so freeing. You know, it's just an expression of self for no other end or purpose than for my own, you know, enjoyment.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. And how different it
so
is
thank you for
when what
that.
you're building one step at a time is with that energy.
Yeah,
Doing it with this is exactly what I want to do next. And this is exactly what feels right. When we build our castle out of who we are and not out of should and
yeah,
what other people expect.
yeah. Or for not my castle's bigger than your castle,
Yeah, there you
you
go.
know,
Also
which
wonderful Capricorn energy. They're kind of keeping up with the Joneses vibe
yeah,
of
yeah,
come check out my
which,
castle.
you know, which I do sometimes.
Yeah, we all do. So how can you notice it and how can you make the brave choice to let it go, to let it
Yeah,
crumble, to let it go into the light and, you know, just accept other people might say this is failure and for me it's success.
yeah. Difficult to remember sometimes in the world that we live in, but really important to cultivate and to just to remember. And that was another remembering. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Well, and with Capricorn, I just think about the diligence, and that's something that this is a long-term thing, right? You know, we commit to
Yeah,
this again and again and again and again.
yeah. And it could be a grieving process, I think, when we come up with our truth of
There you go. That's
here
the
we
terror
are,
of letting
you
the
know,
castle
it's a
crumble, the
really, it's
terror of,
uncomfortable.
yeah, of what we thought we wanted and who we thought we were. And
Yeah,
you gotta let it go. And like that is not always easy work.
yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for joining. I know it's 12:30, at least London time. So I guess, Andrea, if you want to stop the recording, I'm happy to stay on and casually chat for a few more moments if anyone would like, before I go and have my own restful afternoon.
Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Patrick. As always, it just, well, I love your work. It's amazing. So I'm saying goodbye to everyone who is watching replay, and we will stay to talk more.